So check this out. I was literally just sitting there watching NFL Live on ESPN earlier today, and they went into this whole segment about the New York Giants off-season that really got me thinking. Like, I wasn't planning on making a video today, but after hearing everything they were saying on the show, I had to come straight here and break it down for you guys because this is actually really interesting stuff that I think a lot of Giants fans need to hear. Hey, what's up everyone? Before we dive into everything I have for you today, I need to share something real with you that would mean the absolute world to me. That subscribe button right there. Hitting it right now would bring me one step closer to my dream of reaching 1,000 subscribers. I know you're eager to get into all this content, but real quick, just smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell. It's such a simple thing. It takes literally 1 second, but it's honestly the biggest way you can support this journey and help me reach that milestone. Trust me, every single subscription gets me closer to that goal. And honestly, it would mean everything to me. So, do me that quick favor right now and be part of this dream becoming reality. The show starts, and you've got Laura Rutledge sitting there with the panel, and she opens up by talking about how the Giants are at this really critical juncture as a franchise right now. She was saying that after the past couple of seasons where things haven't gone the way they planned, this offseason represents a real opportunity for the organization to start building something sustainable. They've got a young quarterback in Jackson Dart that they're clearly committed to developing. And now the question becomes, what pieces do they need to put around him to give him the best chance to succeed? And that's when she brought up the name Diontae Johnson as a potential target for the Giants. And honestly, the more they broke it down, the more it started making a lot of sense for what New York is trying to accomplish right now. Marcus Spears was the first one to really dive into this. And you know how Marcus gets when he's passionate about something. He was like, look, the Giants have had this recurring problem for years now, where they don't have enough reliable targets in the passing game. They've got some talented players, sure, but they haven't had that consistent depth at the receiver position where the quarterback knows he can trust multiple guys to get open and make plays. And that's a problem when you're trying to develop a young quarterback because you need to give him options and you need to give him safety valves that he can rely on. And Marcus was saying that Diontae Johnson is exactly the type of player who can fill that role. He was breaking down Johnson's game and talking about how this is a guy who has proven throughout his career that he can get open, that he can run crisp routes, and that he can be a reliable target in the short to intermediate passing game. He's not a burner who's going to take the top off the defense, but he's a guy who knows how to find the soft spots in zone coverage and who has great hands and body control in traffic. Then Dan Orlovsky jumped in with his perspective. And you know, Dan loves to get into the X's and O's of things. He was talking about how the Giants under new offensive coordinator Matt Nagy are going to be running a system that emphasizes timing, precision, and getting playmakers the ball in space. And he was saying that Diontae Johnson would thrive in that kind of system because of his route running ability and his understanding of how to work within the structure of an offense. Dan was breaking down specific route concepts and talking about how Johnson is really good at running those intermediate routes, like digs, crosses, and comebacks, where he can catch the ball with momentum and turn upfield for yards after the catch. He was also talking about how Johnson is excellent on third downs because he understands how to find the open zones in coverage and how to give the quarterback a reliable target when the team needs to extend drives. And for a young quarterback like Jackson Dart, having that kind of dependable option on third down is absolutely crucial for his development and for the team's overall success. And Dan made this really interesting point about the chemistry between a young quarterback and a reliable receiver. He was saying that when you're a young quarterback, one of the hardest things to develop is trust. You need to trust that when you throw the ball to a certain spot, your receiver is going to be there. And that trust comes from reps. from seeing the same things in practice that you see in games, and from having guys who run consistent routes and who are where they're supposed to be. And Diontae Johnson is that type of player. He's not going to freelance or go off script. He's going to run the route the way it's supposed to be run, and that's going to allow Dart to develop that trust and that timing that every successful quarterback-receiver duo needs. Then they brought in some statistics that really put things in perspective. Mina Kimes was on the panel, and she started going through some numbers that show what Johnson has been able to do throughout his career. She was pointing out that Johnson has had multiple seasons where he led his team in receptions, and even in years where he's been on struggling offenses, he's still managed to produce solid numbers. That tells you something about the player, that he can produce even when the situation around him isn't ideal. Mina was like, think about what that means for the Giants. This is a guy who has produced in less than ideal circumstances, with questionable quarterback play, and with offenses that weren't exactly humming. Now imagine putting him in a situation where he's got a young, talented quarterback who's being groomed to be the franchise guy, with a coaching staff that knows how to use his skills, and with other weapons around him that can take some of the attention away. The opportunities for Johnson to produce would only increase, and his impact on the offense could be significant. And Mina dropped some interesting context about what the Giants have been missing in their receiver room. She was saying that when you look at the great offenses in the NFL, they all have that guy who might not be the flashiest or the most explosive, but who is absolutely reliable when you need a play. The guy who's going to catch the ball, move the chains, and keep the drive alive. And the Giants haven't really had that guy consistently. They've had talented players who can make big plays, but they haven't had that steady, reliable presence who you can count on every single snap. Diontae Johnson could be that guy for them. Now, Laura brought up a really important question at this point, which is what Johnson's situation looks like right now and whether he would be available for the Giants to pursue. And this led to a whole discussion about the current state of Johnson's career and what teams might be interested in him. Adam Schefter actually joined the conversation via remote. And you know, when Schefter gets involved, things get serious. He was saying that Johnson has been in a bit of a journeyman situation over the past couple of seasons, bouncing around from Pittsburgh to Carolina to Baltimore to Cleveland. And while that might seem like a red flag to some people, Schefter was actually framing it as an opportunity for a team like the Giants. Schefter was saying that Johnson's recent movement isn't necessarily because he can't play. It's more about circumstances. Sometimes players end up on teams that aren't the right fit, or they get caught up in roster moves that have nothing to do with their ability. And when you look at Johnson's actual performance on the field, he's still been productive. He's still shown that he can get open and make catches. The issue has been finding the right situation where he can settle in and be a consistent part of an offense. And Schefter was saying that the Giants could be that situation for Johnson. They've got a young quarterback who needs weapons, they've got a coaching staff that values the type of player Johnson is, and they've got the cap space to make a move without breaking the bank. It's the kind of low-risk, potentially high-reward move that smart front offices make all the time. Then the conversation shifted to how Johnson specifically would fit with the other players on the Giants roster and with the overall offensive philosophy they're trying to implement. And this is where it got really interesting because they started breaking down what the Giants are building under Matt Nagy. Marcus Spears was talking about how Nagy's offense is going to be built around timing and precision, getting the ball out quickly, and letting playmakers work in space. He was saying that this is the type of system where a guy like Diontae Johnson can really shine because it plays to his strengths. Johnson isn't a guy who's going to win with pure speed or athleticism. He's going to win with his route running, his understanding of coverage, and his ability to get open in tight windows. And that's exactly what Nagy's offense asks receivers to do. Marcus was also talking about how Johnson would complement the other weapons the Giants have or are trying to acquire. He was saying that you can't build an offense with just one type of player. You need variety. You need guys who can stretch the field, guys who can work the middle, guys who can make plays after the catch. And Johnson provides that intermediate game presence that can take pressure off the other receivers and give the offense another dimension. Dan Orlovsky added to that by talking about the importance of having multiple reliable targets for a young quarterback. He was saying that when you're developing a quarterback, you want to minimize the situations where he has to force the ball into tight coverage, or where he doesn't have anyone open. And having a guy like Johnson, who consistently gets open, and who can be that check down or that intermediate option, is huge for quarterback development. It gives Dart a safety valve, someone he can look to when the first read isn't there, and that's going to help him play with more confidence and make better decisions. Dan was also breaking down how Johnson's game would specifically help in certain situations. He was talking about red zone offense, where having a receiver who can find the soft spots in zone coverage and who has reliable hands is crucial. He was talking about third and medium situations, where you need someone who can run the route to the sticks and make the catch to move the chains. And he was talking about 2-minute drill situations, where you need receivers who can get out of bounds, who can run precise routes, and who can help the quarterback manage the clock. Johnson checks all of those boxes. The panel also discussed the leadership and mentorship aspect of bringing in a player like Johnson, which is something that often gets overlooked in these discussions. Mina Kimes brought up the fact that Johnson has been in the league for several years now, and while he's not an old player by any means, he's got experience that could be valuable for the younger receivers on the Giants roster. She was saying that the Giants have some young players in their receiver room who are still developing, and having a veteran like Johnson who has been through different situations, who has played in different offenses, and who has learned from different quarterbacks could be incredibly valuable. He can share his knowledge. He can set an example in terms of work ethic and preparation, and he can help the younger guys develop their games. That kind of mentorship is often undervalued, but it can have a huge impact on a team's development.